Hi, my name's Henry Wagons, and you're listening to Torrent This with Dando, and I suggest that you don't change the dial or, go off and download anything extra on torrents. This is a very black market underground activity that you're doing. You've named this show after an absolutely criminal activity, and these are the kind of guys that I enjoy associating with. Absolute black pirates of the airwaves.
Welcome back to Torrent This with Dando on 94.7 The Pulse. And now I am joined on the line by a man who'll be appearing at the 2011 Queenscliff Music Festival on November 26th. His latest album is titled Rumble, Shake and Tumble. And from what I've heard, he's just an all-round great guy. I'm, of course, talking about Henry Wagons. Henry, thanks for your time, man, and how's things?
Look, I'm really good. I don't know how to live up to the reputation of being an all-round great guy. I think my mum would disagree with you.
Oh, really? I've read interviews, and everyone says that you love doing interviews. You're always chirpy. And
I think that was one of the problems. I'd never shut up. When there's... But, occasionally parents need moments of tranquility, and, teachers require silence during exams, and I was not the one to provide it.
So I'm to assume that you weren't very good at school?
Oh, thank you. I wear glasses. I do. I'm a nerd, actually.
Yeah, I'm a nerd too, don't worry.
I blitzed that motherfucker. Oh,
yeah.
Can you beep?
Oh, no, dude. Yeah, it's pre-recorded. I'll just leave it, don't worry.
Do it. It's like, I did my homework. I was quite diligent, but it didn't stop me from talking about, the current affairs and the schoolyard gossip whenever it was going on.
Were you that kid that was always opinionated?
Yeah, I think so. But, now in my later life, I feel like it's the most opinionated people that really know the least. But it sort of still hasn't stopped me.
Now, man, just in case some of our listeners aren't familiar with your work, could you maybe just give them a quick insight into who you are and what Wagons brings to the table?
So who am I? I'm Henry Wagons, and I'm the egomaniac behind the band Wagons, which is named after me, in a Van Halen style. Though we sound nothing like Van Halen, we sound more like kind of a cross between Johnny Cash, sort of at death's door, sort of fat Elvis when he's most sweaty and, trying to do a pirouette, and kind of aspirational Roy Orbison. And if all of those men had sex with one another and produced a ugly, mischievous child...
Oh, you're not ugly, don't worry.
You'd have... Oh, thank you. But I think the aura that we create is slightly ugly and sweaty, but, a whole lot of fun. It's kind of basically, if the blood, sweat and tears of all those men were sort of cultivated in a petri dish, it will spell Wagon.
You are a great man. I've heard you just finished a tour of the US. How'd that go?
It was great.
Yeah.
I've had to poke a couple of holes in my belt because I've eaten too many burgers and weird foods. Like there's a whole lot of there's a fad in the States where foods in servos will be advertising sweet and salty at the same time.
What do you mean?
As an incentive to buy it.
Oh, really?
You've got like, pretzel M&Ms. In Portland, I had a bacon and maple syrup donut.
Donut?
A donut. Rashes of bacon on the top. And that was outrageous. So it's and the whole, if you think about it, I think it stems from a kind of, the whole peanut butter and chocolate thing.
Yeah.
Peanut butter's kind of fatty and salty kind of thing. But obsession with bacon as well loosens the belt. Like when I was in Nashville recently, I had a bacon cocktail. It was like a whiskey cocktail infused with bacon.
No way.
It sort of tasted like liquid smoke.
What, did it have bacon chunks in it, you mean?
Nah, It was just, it looked like a glass of whiskey pretty much. It was like, I was locked in a, prosciutto shed.
But the thing is, did it taste good?
It did, actually. It was really good. It's like, I love my whiskey. It was like drinking a really intense. It was like drinking Lafroig or something, a really, really smoky whiskey. It was pretty intense. I highly recommend it. If you ever find yourself in Nashville, it's a place I think it's called Patterson House, and it's a speakeasy. It's a bar that there's no sign on the front. I was taken there by a local Nashville resident, and it's one of those bars where the door is a bookshelf, and you sort of enter in. It's got a speakeasy vibe, but it's full of hipsters, which isn't necessarily an incentive to go.
I was going to say, yeah,
it's got a good bacon cocktail, so you can tolerate that stuff.
How do the gigs compare to when you play them here? Like, were the crowds different or what?
You know what? It's kind of weirdly similar. I compare playing in the States now to Wagons playing 6 or 7 years ago in Fitzroy, or playing at the Nash in Geelong for the first time, where, people aren't necessarily breaking down the doors to get in. The people who are in there seem to be really enjoying themselves in exactly the same way. I don't kind of have the intellectual fortitude to kind of change what I do too much. I'm more or less get on stage and do what I do every night. And the Americans seem to take to it. It's kind of, I feel like I'm living a weird parallel life 6, 7 years later on the opposite side of the world, in that I'm even meeting the same people again. That sort of guy that shows up to the bar on a Friday night and gets shit-faced and wears a weird waistcoat and has got curly hair. I'm meeting that guy in upstate New York, the same dude I met in Fitzroy, Melbourne 8 years ago, living some parallel existence, telling me how good the band is. It's sort of weirdly the same, but just with a different accent, if that makes any sense at all.
It made complete sense.
Yeah.
Why did you choose country music, man? Is it something you loved when you were growing up, or?
Well, yeah, my mum and dad listened to a little bit of it, but it was kind of a stage I never imagined myself to be at this point in my life playing country music, really, but there was a weird kind of triad of influences when I was about 18, 19, my now drummer, gave me a late Johnny Cash record. I was kind of reading Cormac McCarthy series of novels. He's like this sort of trippy Western writer. He wrote The Road and All the Pretty Horses. Like, a couple of them have been made into movies.
Yep.
Amazing, trippy author. And also watching the film Dead Man, a Jim Jarmusch movie with Johnny Depp in it, which was a kind of acid-drenched cowboy kind of story.
Yep.
And those three things inspired me to make some screwed-up Western music. And, and ever since I played my first open mic at the Art House in Collingwood in Melbourne, almost a decade ago, the project had some sort of weird momentum and a propulsion which has kind of got us gigs and had people work with us ever since. So here I am, and without a complaint in the world, being able to live off it. It's an absolutely crazy turn of events.
Has it always been the same 5 guys in your band?
Yeah, I'm not very good at sacking anyone. My band seems to just get bigger by a person or two every year. So now, at our launch, we have 9 people on stage, but we sort of have a core group of about 4 or 5 that are always there, and then anything else is just is sort of lace, extra bells and whistles on the core sound. At Queenscliff, I don't know how many of the Wagons cult are coming out, but I suspect there's going to be at least 6, possibly.
Is there some special ritual you have to go through to get into the Wagons frat?
Pretty much just get shit-faced with me over a period of years.
And as long as you know how to strum a chord?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We actually end up spending a lot of time together 24/7. So it's important that we all get along, and luckily we all have compatible hygiene routines. It's not often that you can say of a bunch of fellow men that you know exactly how much time it takes for them to crap and have a shower in the morning and how likely it is that, you know, they're going to wear the same pair of socks for several days. Unfortunately, there are too many of my band members who do that.
I do it too. Saves washing, man.
You probably haven't. You probably are fulfilling some criteria for joining my band.
I will. Well, there we go. Second career for me. Radio. Now I'll be joining the Wagons. Tell us about Gordon and Peeps, man.
They're my pride and joy. I've got 2 dogs. My pug Gordon and my half pug, half poodle Peeps. And whenever I'm on the road, I miss them quite a bit. They're they're struggling in the rain today here in Melbourne, and you know, Gordon's taken to poo and wee inside. He doesn't like sticking his feet in the water.
Why don't you take him on tour with you?
Wish I could. You know, I think you know, if we get the pleasure and privilege of playing, you know, Vegas casinos or ornate theatres, you know, maybe I can start making my own rules. But the average pug doesn't like a smelly little flat-faced dog dancing around the back. Usually, and also we're doing so much touring overseas now that, you know, I don't want to shove him. I'd get too disturbed by having him put in the undercarriage and worrying about whether the pilot turned on the oxygen down there or not.
And there's so much shit you have to go through to get dogs into other countries.
It's true. I've looked up, you know, you know, me and my girl, we're thinking about moving overseas at some point, and I've looked into all the quarantine regulations in each of the countries, and, you know, yeah, it's tough. They have to spend some hard time, you know, in quarantine.
Yeah.
It's, I reckon my dogs actually could do with it. They're kind of pansies. I reckon some hard time behind the bars might actually toughen them up a little bit.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. However, I've got one last question.
Yeah.
Most of your songs are about, you've said that about people in your life, but are lyrics something that are important to you, or do you just focus on new music?
They're both really important to me. Like I said, I'm a nerd, so I labour over both of them. You know, I think it's important, you know, to consider both. I'm not prolific. I'm not a guy that sits around the campfire and says, hey, I wrote 3 new songs today. You know, some songwriters are writing songs every day, but I kind of rarely write many more songs than actually appear on the album. So it's, you know, I take my time and labour both. And I think the lyrics and the music are probably all the worse for it.
Well, thanks for your time, Henry. If you want to catch Henry, he'll be playing at the ESPY on October 31st in Melbourne. They'll also be playing at the Queenscliff Music Festival November 27th. Make sure you get down there. And for all the Wagons news, get down to facebook.com/wagonsmusic. Once again, thanks for your time, Henry, and have a good one on your tour.
Thank you very much. Good to have a chat.
Catch you later, man.
See ya.